guys, Nate here with Racing Co. coming at you with another video. And as you can see, we're pretty deep into it right now. We got 2 months, we don't have a minute to waste. So let's get into what the plan is for today. So as you can see here, we got the motor ripped out. It's on a stand over there. Got the dash ripped out. The car is totally gutted right now from the front up. And the reason for this is because we got a lot going on. We got engine bay, we got rewiring, we got a heater core. So there's just a lot right now. But the main issue that I want to address is the rust in the engine bay. So you can see this frame rail needs work. Let me zoom in over there. Yeah, looking real good. But we're gonna start with this one first. Either way, they both gotta get done, it don't matter. As you can see, this frame rail has been replaced before, but the repair unfortunately didn't work out like I thought it would, and there were some issues because of it. So you can see back here where everything meets up, it was fine. But if you go up here, you can see the frame rail physically sits higher than where the original one is. Now this caused an issue that I didn't realize until I lowered the car. So what happened was, when this frame rail got moved up, the K-member also moved up. So the car always kind of squatted to this side, and I couldn't figure out why. Especially when I cut the front springs, I was like, man, this thing sits really awkward. Like, why is it like that? And then I realized the K-member is physically sitting higher. So we're gonna fix that and clean all that up. That way everything sits nice and square, the car is level, and we won't have any funny stance issues anywhere. But so yeah, the plan is we're gonna cut this whole rail out, and I unbolted the K-member on this side, I dropped the strut, and then I cracked the 2 back bolts on the K-member loose because all this is rotted. So I assumed that when I dropped this side, got everything off of this side, that it would just flex on this side because I gotta rebuild that anyway. And the K-member did, it just right down to the ground, so that's awesome. So now we have the room we need, and I would like to roll the K-member out and like clean it and spray it off, whatever, but I'm running out of room pretty quickly here. Like, I got a little bit of room right here, that's it. But I got a mess of parts from the motor. I got the wiring harness I'm working on over there. Parts, motor, dash, it's just, I got a lot. So I gotta work with what I got. It is what it is, no big deal. But yeah, so the plan is to just completely cut that rail out again and start over and rebuild the inner fender apron, the strut tower, and try to clean that up back there. Now the cool thing is that this area right here, let me move these nuts for the HVAC box. This area is still good. It's not rotted or anything, which is fantastic. So we won't really have to do a whole lot back there besides welding the frame rail back into place, but that's fine. So what I'll probably do is, like I said, cut it out, clean it up, get rid of the rusty metal, and I'll get some steel and we'll box it in and just burn her in real nice. So we're gonna be putting the Harbor Freight welder to work today. Shout out to my boy Mikey. I keep borrowing your welder. I need to get one of my own, I know, but we'll get there. Anyways, 2 months, yeah, we got a lot, so let's get right to it. Alright, so as you can see here, we did actually get the frame rail to drop, and it actually seems to be pretty good. Now, originally I was just going to cut this out, but this honestly ended up being really level. So this looks good, and if I have to play around a little bit, I mean, worst case scenario, I could always put washers between the K-member and the frame rail. Not ideal, but it would definitely do. Yeah, so I'm really liking how that's looking. So I think what we'll do is we'll clean up the frame rail area. We'll probably cut away all that excess metal that we don't need. I'm gonna look into what I can do about the fender apron to repair that area. Either maybe doing like a Scott rod panel or just fabbing up a filler piece. But yeah, I think that'll do just fine. That looks a lot better, looks straighter. So we'll go with that. All right, so as you can see, we got a lot of the rock cut away. I still got some little cleaning up and stuff I gotta do, grind some stuff down. But we just got back from Lowe's, picked up some steel. So this is 22 gauge, which is actually the same thickness as the Scott rod panels. This is 22 gauge steel. And then I picked up a sheet of aluminum because I had the bright idea, instead of having the AC evaporator core where you can see it, I just make a block off plate and I can just rivet it into the firewall, and I feel like that would look so much better. So I think that's what we're gonna go with here. So yeah, that's the plan for that. I feel like that'll clean up really nice. So I picked up a new rivet gun because mine's kind of trashed and missing stuff. New rivet gun, aluminum rivets, and the aluminum sheet. But yeah, so I'll probably start making little templates and stuff to clean this up and make new pieces with, and then yeah, we'll go from there. All right, so we started making templates to repair the frame rail and get it back in place. So you see here, I got these small sections started. So all I did is just cut out templates in cardboard, shape it to what I want, and from there we just transferred over to some 22 gauge steel and cut it out. So you can see I got these corner pieces made for the strut tower, so everything fits really nice and tight. And then I'll probably also put a filler piece in here to fill this top piece of the frame rail so nothing, no water or anything goes down in there. And then to top it off, I might end up doing, I'm not sure yet, but I'd like to do these Scott rod panels to cover everything. Now I'm not gonna do the steel ones because that's a lot of fab work that I don't think I'm good enough to do. So what I'll probably do is once this is all cleaned up and painted and everything, I might do the aluminum ones which rivet in, and it'll hide a lot of these repairs and whatnot and make it look halfway decent. But I don't know, we'll see, because time is still our enemy right now, and depending how long that takes, it could be a lot more work than I anticipated. So we'll just keep doing what we're doing, and we'll see how it turns out. But so I still need to make a template for this, still need to clean this up, box this end in, and once all the pieces I feel are good and made, we can start really burning everything in. So I might burn this part in first just so we have a solid little foundation to work with, and then maybe build up. We'll see. I'll let you guys know. All right, so we're looking okay. Don't mind my crude welds. I am not a professional by any means. I'm just out here trying to make it work. But I have faith in the old Harbor Freight welder. Shout out to my buddy Mikey again. It's done everything it needed to do so far, including floor pans and a torque box replacement. So if it can do that, I'm sure it can do this. And if something goes amiss, I will definitely know. But it seems to be going well as it can, I guess. I ran out of wire and I'm running out of sheet metal. That's all I got left. But it's getting there. Like I said, ran out of stuff. So tomorrow I'll go pick up some more supplies and try to get this side buttoned up as much as I can. And what I'll probably do is I'll put the back two bolts of the K-member in just loosely, just so they're in there, and then probably hook the strut back up to kind of pick up this side. And then once this is like all done and everything, I'll go ahead and dismantle this side, which is gonna be nuts. By that time, we'll probably have the trans and the rest of the H-pipe out. And then once both sides are done, probably do my best to degrease the K-member. I need to figure out a rack, because this is a power rack that I turned into a manual rack by removing the power steering lines. And because I made that bad decision years ago, the worm gear in the rack is wearing out, so there's slop in the rack itself. So figure out something for that. I definitely need new bushings for the rack. They're all covered in oil and whatnot. So once both sides are done, let me zoom out here, make it a little easier on you guys. Once both sides are done, I'll be focused on degreasing, cleaning the K-member, and then we'll get into painting and everything. I don't know if I showed you guys this earlier. I'm excited about this. I don't know why. It's just a little thing, but I think it's dope. Bam! Check that out. Well, block off plate for the AC. I do have to notch it a little bit for the heater core hole. That's not a big deal. I can do that with the Dremel. But I think that stuff's sweet. I don't know. It's just cool to me. But yeah, we're getting there. So I'm hoping by the end of next week, I will have both sides completely done. K-member completely mounted back up. Again, trans and exhaust out. And from there, we'll be able to paint, do everything. And then we can focus our attention to the motor, because that will be one of the few next things that have to go back in. So next week's goal, again, is to get all this done. And I'm hoping by the end of the month, I can have this back in, motor back in, wiring harness back in and basically have this thing almost ready to run. I still have to figure out my clutch issue. I don't know if it's the pressure plate or what. It's doing this weird clicky thing. I got to figure that out. I got a lot of little stuff to go over, but yeah, that's the goal. So we'll see what happens. Alrighty, so we got this frame roll all done. It doesn't look the greatest, but it'll definitely hold. So yeah, the next plan of attack will be to undercoat the inside wheel arch here, get all this cleaned up and good. And then once this side's done, we'll move on to that side, start removing everything, cutting everything away, and could proceed on with that repair. And then once that side's done, we can undercoat that wheel arch that on the inside, and then we'll go through and undercoat the whole engine bay and get it all cleaned up and pretty looking. So yeah, so I'll probably set this up on a time lapse, and we'll start coating this wheel well here, and then we'll be good to rock and roll. Alrighty, so the undercoating is all dry. It's all nice and clean looking on this side now, which is fantastic. So I got the transmission removed, the H-pipe's over there. This is actually a T5Z, for those of you that don't know. This is actually a Ford Motorsport trans that you would buy out of a catalog. So that's kind of cool. But one thing I found when I took this apart is my strut mount's blowing apart. This is a Prothane kit I bought like 2 years ago, and it's already breaking apart. So I don't know what's up with that. Prothane, step your game up. And then on the other side of things, you can't really see it, but those are the nuts for the proportioning valve. This car has lived a long, hard life. It's been driven in snow and whatnot up until a couple years ago. So I sprayed those two nuts with PB Blaster. I'm gonna see if I can get it out and save the proportioning valve, because we are going to have to reuse that, and from there we'll make new brake lines and stuff like that for it. But cow bummer. So hopefully these nuts don't snap off, or I can just maybe cut that section of metal out without damaging the proportioning valve. We'll see. But as you can see, this frame rail is pretty foobarred. The outside of it doesn't seem too bad. It looks like I can pretty much cut it here and like here and make an outside piece. But the inside tells a very different story. Definitely has more extensive damage, so we'll see. And then plus back there is all pretty rotted, so I'll have to figure something out for that. But we'll get to it. I'm assuming that is probably from like a leaking booster or master. I do still have the original setup that was on the car when I got it. So, I mean, 37, 38 years now. It's probably time to upgrade, so. But yeah, I'm going to see if I can get this proportioning valve off, and we'll go from there. Alright, so the proportioning valve is out in all of her glory. Minty brass unit. You can see it's pretty nasty. We got one nut off, but the other one was pretty far gone and didn't want to budge, so I just ended up ripping out of the metal it was attached to. But the bracket's pretty messed up. I don't think we're going to be able to save that other stud. So what I'll probably do is hack the bracket off behind this first nut that I got off and weld a new piece to it, and then from there we can nut and bolt it to the firewall, or not the firewall, the strut tower. So that'll be cool. And then we also got this big section of the frame rail removed. This was the area. That was pretty much it, honestly. So it should be a pretty straightforward repair. I do still have this section that I cut out. So the bottom half, I mean, obviously I'm not going to reuse this, but this will serve as a good template for the bottom. So I can install that, get my bolt holes and everything lined up, get new hardware, and then just build up off of it, and then make a piece to wrap around the back of the strut tower to fill that in. And then the other little thing I need to do is I'll come back here behind the strut tower in this area and cut out that rotted area. And then I'm debating on whether I should put like the same style, like trough looking thing as what we have on this side, because it was original, whatever. But at the same time, I'm not sure because I don't want that trough area where water can get in and intrude into the frame rail again. So I might just make it flat so the water can just run right off. I'm not really sure yet, we'll see. But yeah, not too bad. So I'm thinking about calling it a night here. I'll probably end the video here because the video is already getting a little on the long side. And yeah, we'll probably pick back up in the next video getting this frame rail repaired and then getting the engine bay completely coated and cleaned and whatnot. Getting the K-member bolted back up. And yeah, so the game plan has changed a little bit. Originally, I was going to get the motor in the car before I did the brakes and everything. But looking as how I want to remake the front lines, the lines going from the master to the proportioning valve, and I have to redo that junction for the rear line. What I'll probably do is once the engine bay is coated, I'll get the 93 Cobra booster with the 79 to 86 master that I want, get that in the car, get all my lines made and bent and everything, try to make them as crispy as possible, just so it's a nice clean looking, as clean as it can be. I know that's going to be a little bit of an eyesore, but it's all right. Brake lines look good, so that's the goal. And then once that's done, we can start tearing into the motor. The goal for this, because the motor's still healthy, it's not knocking, it doesn't tick, it's been a great motor, is we'll probably get the oil pan kit off LMR. Ford Performance sells a kit. It's like the new oil pan, gasket, pickup tube, dipstick. And the reason I'm doing this is because my oil pan has a really bad leak, the drain plugs are messed up, and I don't have a dipstick. So we'll address that. I got polyurethane motor mounts coming, new gaskets. I would like to change the timing cover because this has an older style timing cover where the front main seal goes in from the back side, whereas the Fox body one's supposed to go in from the front. And I think that's where I'm having my front main leak issues, is because instead of the balancer going into the seal, it's just butting up against it and destroying it. So I'm assuming that's where my oil issue is coming from, but we'll find out when we really tear into it. But other than that, I'm not trying to mess up a good thing. Again, this motor's been great. It's healthy. It runs like a champ. So we just want to seal it. And then once all that's done, we'll give it a nice, pretty coat of paint. Probably some Rust-Oleum. I think it was like safety blue or something. I'm taking some tidbits off Uncle Tony's garage. I watched some of his videos on like painting an engine so it lasts. And he definitely was strongly recommending the brush-on method for the primer and the paint. So that's probably what I'll do, just so it has a long-lasting finish and it looks decent in the engine bay. But yeah, so rust, brakes, motor. That's the order we're going with now. So like I said, I'm going to cap this video off here, and we'll get into the next one, getting right back into the action. But I appreciate you guys tuning in and sticking around, and hopefully I see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.